Well, Barrett, love to break the news to you. Apparently, we have some history here for the Eagles. They are picking a linebacker here in the first round. Jihaad Campbell is the guy.
I just talked him up.
Yeah, you did, and he seems to have all the things that the Eagles might need here. Of course, Barrett, they didn't have a first-round grade on all the players that were available. Do you think Jihaad was a guy that they did have a first-round grade on?
There's no doubt he had him a first-round grade. In fact, he's the guy that fell to him. Alabama guy, so a guy, in the SEC, a guy that used to picking from the pedigree of an Alabama team. But Jihaad Campbell's actually, he's a top 12 talent in this draft. If it wasn't for his shoulder, he would have been gone right around number 10 through 12 as far as picks. He's an every down linebacker. He does everything that you wanted him to do. Prototypical size, like I said, given his measurables. He's a high production guy. He can play the stand-up linebacker position. You can put him there. You can rush him off the edge. And, he's one of those guys I said earlier on and in the shows we had earlier on. And he can come in and play right now when he's healthy. I think he's a great guy. They say he's a Zach Bond-esque type of player, looks just like a Zach Bond, could come rush off the end like a Zach Bond, play linebacker like a Zach Bond. So they're like, well, why would you do that? You don't want, another player like you have there. Oh, like I said, I ain't been much, for, going out there and ciphering, like I said, but I do know that 1 + 1 = 2. And if you got 2 Zach Bonds, that's even better for a defense. So I'm good with this. This is a great pick for them. If he comes back and plays this season, I love it.
And you got to think that they have to deal with the injury to Kobe Dean and be able to have somebody to fill his stead. They lost Oren Burks as well.
Right.
So what do you think they do with Jihaad Campbell, though? Will he be like hand in the ground or more stand-up linebacker?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
He'll be with all that, because we're talking about Zach. We're talking about, you talk about Zach Bond and understanding what he brings to the table. He brings the leadership. He brings the athletic talent, and that athleticism makes him a high production guy also. Well, that's exactly what you're getting for Jihaad Campbell. He's a high production guy, meaning he's going to go out there and do whatever you need him to do. He can cover, he can blitz, he can come off the edge, and he can just play that linebacker position from linebacker level. We need that. You never have enough linebackers, especially linebackers, you're drafting in the first round. And this is like the greatest ever. A linebacker in the first round is absolutely amazing. That means he had the potential to be a top pick. We're talking about 12, a top 12 pick, and he fell down to us again. So Howie must be living good that once again a guy falls to him that wasn't supposed to come to him.
All right, but there was some speculation that the Eagles were trying to trade up. They did trade up with the Kansas City Chiefs to number 31, but guys that were in the range there, Donovan Jackson, a guy you really liked at Ohio State, went 24.
Yes.
You got Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia, who we featured in the program on Birds Huddle. He went 27. So do you feel like they were trying to maybe trade up further to get one of those two guys?
Absolutely. Donovan Jackson was definitely in play as far as a guy they could trade up for because what he does, he's a guard. He is a guard, but he switched out the tackle and was very efficient at tackle. In fact, helped them win a national championship, Ohio State. Played very, very serviceable. In fact, he played well enough that you could say he can play the tackle position at the next level. I really think he can, to be a switch guy. But also he could start to be a guard, to be a great guard. Mm-hmm. So he'll come in. He could have came in and been that's, trying to win that right guard position, So I think that they were trying to trade to get a player like that, and it would have been great for us to do that. But, somebody thought the same thing we were thinking, and he's going to come in and have a great career. But I'm really happy with the Campbell pick.
You touched on Jihaad Campbell's shoulder. What is the concern there? Do you feel like that's something that could linger, or do you feel like he'll be ready to go come OTAs and things like that?
Well, he has surgery, and it says his due back date, the date when he come back, and if he clears everything, should be like a month before camp starts.
Okay. So come July.
Sometime in July, June, July. You just got to be ready to play.
Right.
And, what's going on right now, Nakobe Dean, another great player that came in and showed everybody that he's a great player, had over 100 tackles, played well, but he had his injury. It's just going to have that much more depth in that locker room, when you have a guy like Nakobe Dean and you have a guy competing with Jihaad Campbell. Mm-hmm. It just, gives you a better opportunity to be the best man wins this position. There's going to be a great guy playing in this defense.
And, Nick Sirianni loves the competitiveness in that locker room, position by position. The pick is now official. Jihaad Campbell will be a Philadelphia Eagle.
Great job, Howie.
We will look forward to seeing him come training camp, and if his shoulder cooperates like Barrett mentioned, and we will hear from Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, all the principals at the NovaCare Complex where Ruben Frank, Dave Zangaro, and John Clark are right now. But as things progress here, Jihaad Campbell's in the fold, South Jersey guy. We had similar experience, when Hassan Reddick got here, but nonetheless.
Difference is
this is like a storybook.
Guy,
yeah, this is a storybook situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Homegrown guy, right across the bridge.
This is the watch party over at the link where people are proud and happy. You hear the Eagles chants over there. Not too shabby. Barrett, you get goosebumps here on a night like tonight?
Bro, I'm telling you what, man. This is like one of my Super Bowls throughout the year. Yes, I love watching during the season, doing all the games, post-game shows, doing the college football games and, watching football. But there's nothing like the excitement of coming and watching the draft and trying to pick here and then, seeing where they're going to drop. This is a great situation for the Eagles. Like I said, homegrown talent. He's from here. He's going to want to go out there and ball. He has all the measurables you want from a linebacker, and with an added, bonus that he's from here. I love this. I love this pick.
Howie Roseman dipping into the SEC bag again. You got to like that, considering all the success that conference has had, as well as the players that they brought here.
Once again, we got to thank his father-in-law. His father-in-law said, "Hey, all those colleges over there, the SEC teams, winning championships. Why don't you go get some of their players? Evidently, them guys are pretty good over there, and that's exactly what he's been doing. And like I said, Alabama guy, high production guy, he's fast, big, strong, can cover, does everything you need. Here he is right here, pass deflection, getting in passing lanes. He's long, he's lengthy, 6'3". Then he has the ability to come off the edge. Here's a sack right here, him playing defensive end, coming off the edge. We know Vic Fangio plays a lot of that, two linebackers on the outside, and then you have the three big guys in the middle. He can do all that stuff, and then the excitement of him playing, he's confident in his skill set. He can go out there and cover tight ends. He can cover running backs. He can make the needed plays. He used to playing at a high level, being from Alabama, and understanding that, when you're from Alabama, especially now, you got to produce. And he's produced against some of the great offense in that SEC conference. So this pick is one that, it fell to him again. Once again, Howie's living right. We've got a guy that, because of the injury, teams kind of looked at him and said, hey, we're going to shy away from that. But the Eagles are good enough and have enough, as far as backups, that they can bring in a guy like that if the potential was he's supposed to play. He doesn't have to play now. We want him to play now, but he doesn't have to play now. Not a lot of teams can do that. A lot of these GMs and coaches are playing for their jobs. Howie's not doing that. They understand how good Howie is, so he doesn't have, to really sit back and be like, all right, the heat is not on him. He can go back and do it and make these type of picks for future references.
Jihaad Campbell is the guy. He will not be number 11 here. We do know that for sure. But let's go over to the NovaCare Complex. John Clark is standing by outside. And, John, what do you think of the pick? A little bit of a surprise as the Eagles move up one selection to number 31 to pick Jihaad Campbell.
Yeah, trading with the team they beat in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs, and usually it's the Alabama guys on offense and the Georgia guys on defense, but now you got an Alabama player on defense as well. And this is a Vic Fangio pick, right? We saw what he did with Zach Baun, and you see the versatility that Jihaad has, and Vic Fangio, I think, is going to have a lot of fun using him. He's got the speed, coverage linebacker, but I think he can blitz, and he can rush the passer. Maybe not all the time, but I think he could be an edge rusher here at times for the Eagles. So I think this is a very versatile player for Vic Fangio, and you see the influence. Of course, Vic Fangio on defense losing half of his starters, and this is a guy who can play all over the place. So I do like the pick because of what Vic Fangio has shown he can do, and Vic loves linebackers. So this is a very athletic pick here for the Eagles, and I think he'll be able to get after it, not only coverage-wise as a linebacker, but getting after the quarterback at times. So I do like the pick.
Yeah, you got to love the versatility. A guy like you lose so many players on the defense, and you get a guy like this in Jihaad Campbell who can play multiple positions and kind of fill some of that void that's left behind. But there was a lot of speculation the Eagles might trade up from 32, and there were some suitors there. It seemed like, just based on the rumor mill, that some things might have happened and could have happened, but did you feel like that there was a good chance that they might trade up here? And was there anybody you think that they had their eye on here as the draft kind of fell their way?
Well, that's a good question. And you could say, hey, the Giants really wanted to get up to get their quarterback. And then the Falcons, I think they paid the price, gave up a lot more than Howie Roseman was probably willing to give up to get up there. So don't know if this was ultimately the number one trade-up choice for the Eagles, but I think they're very happy with the versatility that they're bringing to the defense. And Zach Baun, you have seen what Vic Fangio sees in a player and what he can develop him into. And Jihaad went to Alabama as an edge rusher. So we'll see what he plays here in the NFL, but I think he's got the versatility to do it all. And we've seen Vic Fangio work some magic, and Vic loves the versatility at linebacker. So it is interesting here, end of the first round, not the last pick, but second to last pick, that they went this way. I mean, maybe they could have gone offensive tackle for Lane Johnson's replacement, but you really had to add a very special player on defense, and I think that they have the opportunity here to develop Jihaad into a linebacker at the NFL level, but an edge rusher at the NFL level as well.
Hey, we saw a versatile guy in Hassan Reddick, a local homegrown guy from Camden, went to Temple University, and versatile and really make a splash here with the Eagles with all the sacks that he accumulated. Jihaad Campbell, local guy coming home. I mean, I'm sure his family is ecstatic. What do you think about a South Jersey kid kind of making good and playing for the team he grew up watching?
Amazing. Shout out to Timber Creek, huh? Used to have them on Friday Night Football all the time on NBC 10. 100%. So this is special. Yeah, absolutely. Jihaad Campbell staying home, and I believe his parents were just on the broadcast. So a very, very special moment for that family as well.
Are you concerned about the shoulder at all, John? You know, you hear, so many things, a high impact position. He's going to be, in a lot of those holes and trying to plug things up. And like you said, his versatility, or maybe putting his hand in the ground and rushing the passer. Does the shoulder thing concern you at all, or with the things you've heard about it?
It's a little bit of a concern, definitely. Obviously, the shoulder for a linebacker in that position, you're going to have those issues sometimes, but I feel like the Eagles definitely do their due diligence with the medical reports. And, of course, Dom, he checks out everything. So they are obviously confident that Jihaad will be healthy and will be able to be a healthy player in the NFL. And I think, hopefully, that is behind him. It's in the past. I'm excited about the versatility. I'm excited to see how they use him. I think there's a lot of opportunities for him to grow here with the Eagles, especially in Vic Fangio's defense. We've seen what Vic Fangio does with linebackers. Linebackers love playing for Vic Fangio and what he sees in them and the abilities they have. So I think this is an exciting addition for the defense.
Well said, John. We will look to hear more from you coming up here as we're waiting to hear from Howie Roseman as well as Nick Sirianni, as well as Jihaad Campbell. John, we appreciate the time. And we're going to transition now and delve a little deeper into this pick this evening. And the Eagles sending out the tweet. Jihaad Campbell is rolling into Philly. Fly, Eagles, fly. He is... doesn't have to go far. I'm sure there'll be a ton of ticket requests and all types trying to get him and the family into the fold. You look at the measurables, Barrett. Listen, you're coming from Alabama. You're 6'3", 235. Coming from the South Jersey as a funnel into all of these big-time schools. So many great kids have come out of South Jersey, and he just is another one in the fold, hoping to make a name for himself.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny when you see a guy coming from, Timber Creek, and, I actually watched him play one time. I have a little cousin that played with him, and you can just tell that he jumped off the screen even then, a little more skinnier. He wasn't as big as he is now, but, skinnier. But, he's untapped potential. And that's the biggest thing right there. I can't emphasize enough. High production. That's what he's going to be, a high production type of guy. You can put him in different places, and he'll excel in all those places. You can put him at rush in. You can put him at the regular linebacker position. You can blitz him. He can cover. He can read things. He's an instant wheel that can come in and play at a high level. You want guys like this. You see guys that, you see a pattern. Vic Fangio is a linebacker coach at heart. You know, when he was with the Saints, he had those 4 great linebackers playing there back in the day. You know, Pat Swilling and all those guys. When he was with San Fran, Navarro Bowman, Patrick Willis, he had those type of production at the linebacker position. You get him where he has some great linebackers, he can make that defense even better. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he's going to get these guys playing next year, because that's when you get them guys that can play like that at the linebacker position. He can do whatever he wants at the, in that defense.
We got John, Clark, Ruben, Frank, and Dave Zangaro at the NovaCare complex, but over at the Eagles watch party, it is the prognosticator herself. She probably has a crystal ball in her purse. It is Ashlyn Sullivan. She mentioned Jihaad Campbell as a guy the Eagles could have their eye on, and here he is, their pick with number 31. They move up to get him, though, Ashlyn. How about that?
Yeah, so talk about history in the making. One, drafting a linebacker in the first round for the first time since 1979 and trading up to do so with the team that you beat in the Super Bowl. I love this pick. This has Vic Fangio, I think, written all over it. We know one thing, the short time Vic Fangio has coached here in Philadelphia, he gets what he wants. And definitely talking about this draft prospect now with the Philadelphia Eagles, that explosive first step where he can be lined up as a pass rusher, a linebacker. I also was able to catch up with Nakobe Dean here at the draft party. He flew in to sign some autographs for fans, and he told me he is rehabbing. He's feeling really good from that torn tendon and surgery that he had in the wild card round last year, but wouldn't tell me when he will be back 100%. I was asking him, do you think it's training camp? Do you think it's OTAs? He doesn't have a timetable yet of when he will be back, which is really interesting when you think of this draft pick with a linebacker position. Could this be more of a depth piece? You see Ben Van Sumeren, you see Jeremiah Trotter Jr. behind these linebackers right now for the Eagles. That's a big drop off for starting caliber players. So this is now, I think you're feeling a lot better about this defensive depth as a whole for the Eagles.
Yeah, well said, Ashlyn. I mentioned they lost Oren Burks as well in the offseason, so definitely a area of need for the Philadelphia Eagles. Are you surprised that they actually pulled the trigger on the linebacker, though, as opposed to going to interior defensive line or offensive line or somewhere else? Because, like you said, this is history in the making.
It is history in the making, and I think it speaks so perfectly to what Howie Roseman has been telling us for years, and especially this offseason. It's what every general manager says, but few stick to it, that you don't reach for a need, that you wait for the best player available to come for you, or you draft up one position here to take him. But I think it could be very easy for Howie Roseman to go take that interior defensive line. Or I was even thinking, are they going to take offensive line? Because you could look at that as a need. Linebacker, I don't think many people saw as a need this offseason, but when you look at the best player available, Jihaad Campbell was that guy, and that's how you build success long-term in the NFL. It is definitely showing that Howie Roseman isn't a guy who is worried about his job status, because I don't think we'll see the success of this draft pick for maybe 2-3 seasons. Jihaad Campbell is definitely a player that I think will become a starter here in a couple of years, maybe not this year. So it's a position, I think, here with Howie Roseman where he has the luxury of staying a bit patient, which is very rare in the NFL.
She is Ashlyn Sullivan over at the NovaCare complex at the Eagles watch party. Barrett really wanted Donovan Jackson. He was right there, but they didn't get him. But she called it Jihaad Campbell is the guy. Well done, Ashlyn. Thank you very much.